Hey, welcome back to the channel where I find and tell you about awesome anime. In this video, we got a super strong MC who can't use magic. And no, it's not Mash from Magic and Muscles, no. It's actually Will from Wistoria, Wand and Sword. Will dreams of becoming the strongest wizard, but struggles in a magical academy that's more cutthroat than a Black Friday sale. Despite having no magical abilities, he is determined to succeed, even if it means battling beasts barehanded. Oh wait, he has a sword. Whatever, you get it. Let's begin. At Regarden Magical Academy, Will, accompanied by his winged friend Kiki, attends a class taught by Professor Edward, and of course, he chooses good old Will to perform a basic fire spell. He fails miserably, becoming the laughingstock. Scion, a smug student, shows off by casting the spell easily from his seat. Edward dismisses Will's chances of success, declaring that only those with magical talent belong at Regarden. After class, Scion and his gang mock Will, but Colette, another student, stands up for him. She won't let anybody bully her friend. Will, flustered, charms Colette with compliments, making her blush and push him in embarrassment. As they walk, Will explains the history of their world and the legendary wizards known as Magiavander, who sealed away the celestial host to bring peace to the world. Colette wonders if Altheria, the Ice Maiden's wand, is watching over them, and Will, who was actually childhood friends with Altheria, believes she is, dreaming of the day they'll watch a sunset together. To fulfill his dream of becoming a Magiavander, Will knows he must catch up to his childhood friend, who became a Magiavander at a young age. Though he's not as talented, no magic, he vows to one day stand beside her. After apologizing to Professor Werkner for entering a dangerous dungeon earlier, Will earns 2 credits for bringing back an evil guard specimen. Werkner admires Will's persistence but warns him that without magic, advancing to the Upper Institute and becoming a Magiavander is almost potentially impossible. Will still needs 4 credits after all by the end of the week and begins to panic, scanning his notes for a way to earn them. Good old Werkner hints at a Baskerville on the dungeon's 6th floor, which could be worth the last-minute credits Will needs. Meanwhile, Scion, overhearing this, plans to defeat the creature first to sabotage Will. In the dungeon, Will and his little companion Kiki search for the Baskerville, while Scion and his minions arrive with the same goal. However, an even more dangerous sentinel attacks Scion's group, leaving him defenseless and terrified. Despite Scion's cruelty towards Will, he hesitates a little bit, but ultimately chooses to help after hearing screams. This act of bravery awakens something within him, and he remembers the goggles Altheria gave him as a child. Determined, Will blocks the sentinel's attack and vows to stand strong as a lone sword. Back at the academy, Professor Edward panics when he hears Scion enter the dungeon's 6th floor, but Werkner, confident in Will, uses his crystal ball to show Will fighting the sentinel. Will impresses both professors by slicing off the beast's fingers and beheading it with a single strike. Despite his victory, Scion is jealous when Will extends a helping hand, while Werkner reveals that Will's strength lies in his superhuman abilities and observational skills, traits that could one day make him a Magiavander, even without magic. Edward leaves Werkner's office, infuriated. What a pissy professor, just saying, I'm sorry. Will returns to Professor Werkner's office and is greeted with Werkner's death glare, expecting a scolding, but instead, he earns 10 credits for slaying the sentinel, making him and Kiki jump with excitement. Things weren't always this smooth. 5 years ago, Will was nearly expelled for his lack of magic and constant comparisons to Altheria, who had already become a Magiavander. Werkner brought Will to Headmistress Cauldron, who gave him a chance to defeat her magical defenses in combat using the sword she presented him. Will succeeded, earning the right to stay at Regarden. In the present, Werkner explains the 2 paths to becoming a Magiavander: creating new magic or earning 7,200 credits. Will, obviously focused on the credits, appreciates Werkner's supplementary lessons despite his strictness. Later in the halls, Colette joins Will as they overhear students falsely praising Scion for defeating the sentinel. Scion knows Will did the heavy lifting and angrily confronts him for no reason, and Colette sends him packing. Meanwhile, Professor Edward demands Cauldron expel Will for being unfit to become a true wizard. Cauldron refuses, citing Will's achievements and suggesting that even if Will doesn't become a Magiavander, he has other promising skills. To settle the matter, Cauldron proposes Pissy Edward to test Will, and states that if Will fails, then she'll let Edward expel or advance Will. Edward departs with a grin, as he's sure to set a test to fail Will. He later interrupts Will and Colette, summoning Will Will to the spell hall for a duel. The challenge? Land a single attack on Edward to win 5 spellwork credits, or face expulsion. Will, without his sword, struggles to break through Edward's magical shields, and is thrown around like a rag doll. Edward, relishing the opportunity to crush Will's dreams, boasts he'll only use 2 spells. But still, Will can't land a hit. Will, desperate, wishes for his sword as the fight reaches a critical moment. As Will struggles against Edward, Kiki, injured but determined, rushes to Will's locker and convinces Colette to use a spell to unlock it. Meanwhile, Edward taunts Will, telling him to give up, arguing that a sword will never match a wand. But Will stands firm, fueled by his love for Altheria. He even shouts this out to Edward that he loves her. But anyway, it was great. Colette arrives just in time and tosses him his sword. With renewed determination, Will recalls the ancient battle where a lone dwarf landed a blow on a powerful wizard. Oh, by the way, dwarves can't use magic, that's why he's referencing that. He channels this energy and lands a surprise attack, and with one swift strike, slices the cheek. Gritting his teeth, Edward walks away, but awards Will 5 credits. Watching the duel on the magic crystal, Cauldron and Werkner are impressed by Will's determination. Meanwhile, at the outskirts of Regarden, Will's roommate, Rosti, bakes a meal for him, wondering when he'll return home. We got bromance, everyone. In a tearjerker flashback of young Will, full of dreams, he promises Altheria that they'll watch the sunset together someday. She gives him a pair of goggles, and through snot and tears, Will swears to keep that promise. I'll be waiting. And we all sob a little. This kind of gives me Tower of God vibes. Anyone else? Fast forward to the present, and Will delivers newspapers for the locals, casually tripping and dropping his stack because being graceful is apparently not one of his powers. But wait, what's this? Will grabs all the newspapers before they scatter, all except one. He learns that Altheria is making waves with her magic-creating abilities, and there's a new order passed by the Upper Institute. Will's shocked and a little starry-eyed because Altheria is the client. Determined to impress her, Will races to his dorm to beg Rosti for magical gadgets. Rosti, already prepared, hands him the gadgets and wishes him luck. Armed with new magic tools, Will ventures into the dungeon, where students, including a bratty Scion, are battling Frostwalkers. Will cannot let Scion steal his thunder, so he ventures alone deeper into the dungeon, where he stumbles upon a girl being terrified by, wait for it, giant penguin monsters! Yep, you saw that right, penguins, but make them horrifying. Will jumps into action, saving the girl, who introduces herself as Iris. She's thankful, but also kind of mysterious. Meanwhile, Professor Werkner lectures on magic. Another student teases Colette, suggesting she's jealous of Will's admiration for Altheria. Colette yells at Rose, but deep down she knows Will's venturing into the dungeon because he wants to see Altheria again. Meanwhile, Will and Iris explore the dungeon's 4th floor, where Iris opens up about her admiration for his talents despite the lack of magic. She also dreams of holding up the real sky because, oh yeah, the current sky is totally fake. It's called the Great Barrier, a massive magic dome, holding back darkness and preventing the ominous calamity. No pressure. Iris reveals Altheria once saved her from monsters, sparking her dedication to becoming useful to the Magiavander. Suddenly, Will senses something dangerous up ahead. A Frostwalker, right? Wrong. It's actually a Frost Rex. A massive, terrifying beast worth 6 credits. Iris warns that physical attacks won't work, but Will's got magical items from Rosti, and he traps the beast and takes it down, impressing Iris even more. Though her reaction, she's totally plotting something. After the battle, Will collects ice cores and suggests regrouping while Iris ponders whether to report Will's success to a mysterious party. Later, at Mercedes Collis's Wizard Tower, members of the Magiavander, Carriot, Zeo, Eleanor, and Altheria discuss the looming fated day and the need for new warriors. Zeo asks Iris if she's found anyone promising, and Iris suggests Will's name. The room gets divided on Will's potential. However, Carriot suggests waiting for the Grand Magic Festival to decide. Altheria, smiling, summons a crystal and says she will be waiting for Will. Back at Regarden, Will participates in a magic exam where students are earning credits. Julius, one of the top contenders, challenges Liana and Wignall to a future duel before bumping into Will and roasting him. His crony mentions the Grand Magic Festival, and Will recognizes it's that time of year. At the cafeteria, Colette explains that the festival is like the Magical Olympics, where the Magiavander scouts potential recruits. Will, unsure about competing, lists his doubts, but Colette gives him a pep talk. Things get suspicious when Colette senses an inhibitor and sound-dampening barrier near the lockers. Using Kiki's magic, she cracks the barrier, revealing a hidden stairway where students are betting on the Grand Magic Festival. Will and Colette spot Scion and overhear talk about the festival's front runners before leaving. After class, Colette suggests dungeon training, but Will has to work at Gina's Tavern. While serving the dwarven customers, Will overhears talk of the festival, but isn't eager to enter. Gina reminds him to stay stay focused, like Rosty, who is also working at the tavern as an extra. During a break, Will and Rosty chat about the low wages, but Will insists he loves the tavern too much to leave. Just when things seem peaceful, Julius and his crew stroll into the tavern like they own the place. Of course, they immediately start talking trash about the tavern's atmosphere and the dwarves. Will, who's had it up to here with their attitude, steps in and demands an apology. Naturally, Julius and his buddies laugh it off. That's how they sounded. They pull the last straw when Julius disrespects the food and kicks the bean dish, spilling it all over Will. So Will does what any self-respecting tavern worker would do. He knocks Julius's companions out cold. This, of course, does not sit well with Julius, who then uses his icy magic to intimidate. For a second, it looks like Will is in deep trouble, but then Julius catches a glimpse of Will's unshakable resolve. And in true anime fashion, Julius backs down, clearly pissed. He orders Will to enter the Grand Magic Festival, promising to humiliate him in front of everyone. And Will, never one to back down from a challenge, accepts on one condition. If he wins, Julius must apologize to the dwarves and quit being a little shit. Challenge accepted. But on that note, we're ending it here. I highly recommend watching this show. It's pretty good so far. Show that subscribe button a little love. You know, just don't trip over it. Hit the bell too, so you're first in line for next week's madness. Catch you then. Bring your best sword and snacks. See ya.